Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View.
And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jay Burr. Well, D.C., it stays popping with activity, and right now there is plenty coming down, especially from the U.S. House of Representatives. One of Arkansas's reps joining us now from the 2nd District, Representative French Hill. And French, we always enjoy the time here with you. We got a lot to get to here, so let's just kind of jump into things here. I know one of the big things that was buzzing at the end of last week was the Equality Act, and kind of getting into this. You voted against that, along with the rest of the Arkansas congregation. I guess what was your feelings behind that nay vote?
Well, I voted against it because it really, and it's the same bill that came up in the Congress last year. I was opposed to it because it really changes our civil rights law based on how you identify your sexual orientation, and that's not a measurable legal status. So I think that was troubling. Secondly, it upends completely Title IX and women's athletics, for example, in our colleges and universities, and really confuses, again, that very important gender issue as it relates to women's sport. So those are just two topics. I don't think it's the right way, and it was certainly not a bipartisan effort to try to achieve civil rights objectives for our country. And
I guess just to kind of get your opinion on this, there's been a little back and forth on Twitter with a couple of your colleagues. I mean, was it low blows here, or just kind of gamesmanship within the House of Representatives?
Well, people are looking for clickbait on every topic on the left and the right. It's not a constructive part of the dialogue. As we make progress on immigration reform or civil rights reform or police reform or our economy or getting this economy open and people back to work, it takes bipartisan leadership. And the back and forth Twitter clickbait stuff, in my view, doesn't contribute either from the left or the right.
All right. Syria, President Biden kind of going at him a little bit, had that bombing there. I guess what was your take on that? And then how does this situation potentially differ from when President Trump kind of took that same approach?
Well, I don't think it really differs. What Iran is one of the most difficult state sponsors of terror in the world, is a threat to the United States and a threat to the region. This is why I opposed the very ill-conceived Obama-John Kerry treaty with Iran to try to, quote, delay their acceptance and development of a nuclear weapon. All during that time, they've broken the treaty. They're not part of it. And over the last few years, they've operated through proxies, and that's what you see in the Syria-Iraqi border. They use their missile technology in the hands of Shia proxies that are working for the Iranian government to attack Americans and try to kill Americans. I think President Biden was right to strategically attempt to strike that militia group.
And kind of getting into one of the big dogs here is that $1.9 trillion COVID relief package. It's been hanging out there for quite some time here, and I know one of the big sticking points was the raising of the minimum wage. Now, not a part of that. Good idea, bad idea on your part, and kind of what else is in that package that we should expect to see?
Well, the Democrats are not being accountable to either the economy reopening and people coming back to work, or to the taxpayers and their $1.9 trillion approach. Only about 9% of the $1.9 trillion is going to actually defeating the virus. It's a real grab bag of things, $350 billion for states, and yet state budgets are up for the most part across the country, and we've distributed hundreds of billions of dollars already to the states, and we have $1 trillion that's not yet spent from the $4 trillion that we passed on a bipartisan basis during 2020. So we've been debating this now for 2 weeks, Jay, and Larry Summers, a lead former Treasury Secretary and economic advisor to both President Clinton and President Obama, has said it best. He opposes this package. He thinks it's unfocused, untargeted, and 6 times potentially too much, which produces unintended consequences, risk to our economy, including inflation outlook.
Well, it should be interesting to see how that kind of affects things and what sort of has gotten through here once we kind of break this whole thing down here. Also, too, I know, and you've brought this up on the past, even on this show, is the whole supply chain issue. I know you've been working on some things to try to get that more back here in the States. What's the progress on that? What can we expect going forward?
Yes, President Biden recently issued some guidance and executive order work on assessing our supply chains. Are they making America in a competitive position, both in semiconductors and in certain strategic minerals in the battery arena, something I've been very interested on as we become more dependent on batteries for vehicles or for electricity storage. And then finally, in one where I've worked directly, which is in the medical supply chain, that's has been a key focus of mine. We've talked about on your show previously, my SAVE Act, which I'm evaluating right now and reintroducing in this Congress. America needs to have a good supply chain that is defensible and not allow us to be dependent on countries that wish us ill, principally right now, China.
And I guess finally here, before we let you go here, we'll bring some things back home here. The governor's race, already kind of a juicy topic here in Arkansas. I guess what's your take on it here so far, at least from the Hill?
Well, I'm excited that we're going to have a conservative woman as the next governor of Arkansas. And I am fired up about the depth of Republican bench for our leadership positions in the state. And of course, Leslie Rutledge has been an active, engaged attorney general, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders has been such a great role model for working moms as the spokesperson for President Trump and her leadership positions that she's had throughout her career. So Arkansans are going to see two conservative women in the race for governor. And in my view, in 2022, that we'll have a conservative woman as governor of Arkansas.
Oh, how the times they change. Unfortunately, we're running out of time here, but we'll get you on the next go-around here because I know you're relaunching the House Entrepreneur Caucus. So that should be something interesting. So we'll get you on the next go-around here once you get that up and running again.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, always a pleasure to have you on here. Congressman French Hill from District 2 here in Arkansas. Again, we appreciate the time. All right, when we come back, we've got a couple of ladies in here as the Republican Women's Caucus presented their full package of the regular session. We'll get into a little what they are presenting. That's next here. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Central Arkansas Mahindra is the king of package deals, and we are starting 2021 with our best discounts ever. Right now, package deals start as low as $240 per month. Buy 3 implements and get a quick hitch for free. Mahindra, the #1 selling farm tractor in the world.
Welcome. I'm Carrie McCoy, owner of the one and only flagandbanner.com.
Looking for your one-stop shop for all your boating essentials? Come to H2O Sports and Marine. From top brands and knowledgeable sales staff to quality parts and expert service, we're here to help you find exactly what you need. And now with locations in North Little Rock and Greers Ferry Lake, H2O Sports and Marine is here to get you out on the water in a boat you'll love with service you can trust.
Tina and I are back hosting the Golden Globes.
The stakes have never been lower.
If we play our cards right, it might be the last awards show ever.
The Golden Globe Awards, live tonight on NBC.
You need this as much as we do.
We found something. If understood properly, it's going to change the course of humanity. I know it's here for a reason. I feel it connecting us.
Arkansas's favorite treasure hunt, Antique Alley, Arkansas, is March 5th through the 7th in Maumelle. Exhibitors will fill 200 booths with furniture, jewelry, and decor from the 1950s and before inside 9300 Maumelle Boulevard. Shop Arkansas's only authentic antique and vintage show March 5th through 7th.
Central Arkansas Mahindra is the king of package deals, and we are starting 2021 with our best discounts ever. Right now, package deals start as low as $240 per month. Buy 3 implements and get a quick hitch for free. Mahindra, the #1 selling farm tractor in the world.
We're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back into Capitol View. Well, the Women's Republican Caucus had a firestorm of bills that they presented up last week. And here to talk about just a couple of those things, at least as much as we can get to, is State Senator Breanne Davis. And also, let me turn my camera here, State Senator Missy Irvin. Ladies, we certainly do appreciate the time. And both of you guys on the road, no less here. Both of y'all momming it up, and we certainly do appreciate that. For sure. Missy, I want to start with you. Obviously, the Title IX impacts that we're seeing, the Equality Act was passed over just last week as well. You're kind of bringing that to light as well here with your fairness in sports bill. Kind of what are you trying to get into with that?
Well, you know, I was a volunteer high school girls soccer coach right here on this field behind me here in Mountain View, Arkansas. And it's so important that women and girls have an equal opportunity on the playing field, just like boys do. And we have seen this really starting in Connecticut as ground zero, where you have had male athletes identifying as females that have really taken away the opportunities for these young ladies to have a level playing field in girls athletics. And for over 50 years, women have fought so hard to have equal opportunities in athletics under Title IX. And so what we are seeing happening is really disrupting their ability to go after their own dreams and their goals in athletics and those opportunities that are afforded to them with scholarships. And we all know that winning state titles and winning those competitions and championships are important to their opportunities for success and opportunities for scholarships at the next level. So our Fairness in Women's Sports Bill is a collective and joint effort by the Republican Women's Legislative Caucus, and it's rock solid policy, and we're super excited to push it through on behalf of all the girls in the state of Arkansas.
And Senator Davis, I know you've got a couple of things out there too, but one of the real interesting things was the corrections bill that you guys are looking into. A lot going on with that one from the literacy and even just getting beyond those corrections things. Talk about that one just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that one is really just ensuring that inmates that had a high school diploma or GED, they were not afforded some of the same educational opportunities or training that was being offered within the Department of Corrections. So, and that was really just a misstep of not being able to connect agencies the way that we needed to. So this creates an opportunity for those that need it to be able to learn to read and write. It connects them more with job workforce training, and I know Senator Irvin can speak on that a little more, but it's just a great opportunity to make sure that in the workforce, when inmates are released from prison, that they're able to get out in the workforce. Certainly we want to look at reducing recidivism, and the best way to do that is put educational tools in the hands of inmates.
Now, I know you guys are also, too, working on some internet things as well when it comes to just this package that you guys have when it comes to advertising those internet speeds. I know we've all seen the commercials. I know everybody sort of complains about those. But what are we looking at into doing? It's one that's not quite out there yet, but it's coming soon.
It is coming. It's something that Representative Vaught and I are working on, and our women have all been in conversations with this whole time. And it's just to ensure that internet service providers cannot advertise or charge for speeds that they are unable to consistently provide. So we've got some metrics around that, but it's something that obviously has really exploded before our eyes through the COVID pandemic. Just seeing that with everybody at home trying to do school or work, that internet speeds are not what they should be, certainly now, but weren't before either. So we have to file that bill next week and just ensure that people are getting what they're paying for, and that there's no sort of way to trick consumers into buying internet for speeds that they really can't provide in the first place. So that's something we're excited about and we think is important to every single Arkansan across the state.
Absolutely here. And also, too, I know you guys are really focusing, being the moms that you are, looking ahead. A lot of collegiate level bills when it comes to the 529 savings plan. Senator Irving, I know you're also looking at a higher ed consumer guide. I guess kind of go into a little detail on what that is and what would be included in something like that.
So just to also piggyback on what Senator Davis is saying, I just came from Mountain Home where there was a $27.2 million award from federal funds for North Arkansas Electric Cooperative for broadband expansion. And so our Rural ID broadband program actually incentivizes people to apply for those federal dollars for broadband. So super excited that that announcement was made. And up in Mountain Home. And so just, again, great work that these ladies have done all together to push for broadband. And so it's happening. It's working. But to your point, we created the Arkansas Brighter Futures Plan, which includes career coaching in every county and every school district. We want to expand that. And then a higher ed consumer guide so that you know what your investment is and what your return on your investment will be once you graduate. And so you need to have that information as early as you can to make the best decisions about what career path you want to go down and how much debt you might incur in order to get there, and if it makes sense. So what's your return on your investment for your higher education? And then finally, an investment of the Arkansas 529 plan, which we are naming the Arkansas Brighter Future Fund, to encourage investment for your children's future in higher education. Also apprenticeships, career technical education, a lot of more doors opening for that type of investment for both employers, businesses, and individuals, so that children can have a brighter future and they can dream big.
And just like the sticker says right there on your coat there. Ladies, we certainly do appreciate the time. I know you guys are on the go. I mean, look at them. They're in the car. They're out and about. Just because it's Friday at the Capitol on a normal day doesn't mean that they're not out and about. Ladies, we certainly do appreciate the time, and we'll do it again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Well, when we come back, coming up, a 27-year-old making history in an industry. We've got more Capitol View coming up.
Come and enjoy a new experience in shopping for your home. At Aladdin Rugs and Home Decor, we have over 5,000 rugs in the latest colors and styles. Bring your pillows, your pillow shams, and sizes. We will help you select the perfect rug. We're #1 in customer service with 15,000 square feet of rugs, unique home decor, wallpaper, and flooring. Remember, buy today, take it home today, and save. Why wait?
Hi, I'm John Cossey. At Crawl Space Solution of Arkansas, we offer all things crawl spacey. If you have moisture in your crawl space, that means mold and mildew. Our Clean Space system will create a dry, healthy, and clean environment. Call Crawl Space Solution of Arkansas today for all things crawl spacey.
The leaves are beautiful until they end up in your gutters. But with Guardian Gutter Protection, you'll never have to clean your gutters again. Let us keep you off the ladder and protect you and your home. Guardian Gutter Protection keeps out leaves, sticks, pine needles, even those annoying critters. We offer a 100% money-back, no-clog, hassle-free Guardian guarantee. Call today for our holiday special or check us out on the web at guardiangutterprotection.com.
My problem was never really my feet. It was always my back. I had had as many epidurals that I could possibly have in 1 year. And that's when Tara at the Good Feet store kept telling me to try her arch supports. The future I can see now. I couldn't see it before. You can't use this.
See for yourself with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
Love lower than low prices? Then get more ways to save at Kroger, where you can find personalized coupons, weekly deals, and rewards like fuel points. All for prices that are lower than low. On food that's fresher than fresh. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Looking for something new or exciting to do? Maybe a delicious new twist? Join us for The Bucket List with Heather Baker. We'll have all the must-try things in Central Arkansas. The Bucket List on KARK4 Today. You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back into Capitol View. On Friday, Governor Asa Hutchinson showed Arkansas there might be a glimpse of light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to the pandemic here in Arkansas. The governor also said there is a possibility that the mask mandate could be lifted at the end of March if testing stays below 10% and if testing is above 7,500 specimens daily. Now, if there are less than 7,500 daily, then fewer than 750 hospitalizations would be that trigger. Governor Hutchinson also announced he's changing all directives now into guidance. So things like indoor gathering numbers, restaurant spacing, outdoor venue restrictions, all now guidance. He hopes behavior does not change because businesses are still incentivized to maintain those protocols.
They're not going to be subject to penalties, but they still have the incentive to do what is right because consumers can make good judgments as to where they want to go and where it's safe. And secondly, it does give them a better opportunity for liability protection.
The governor has also said that he will not sign a bill making its way through the legislature that would return any COVID-related fines levied from violations of those mandates. The acting U.S. Capitol Police Chief took questions publicly for the first time last week and since the deadly attack on the complex. She told Congress 35 officers are under investigation for misconduct and 6 have been suspended. But as Washington correspondent Jesse Tenor reports, lawmakers still have a lot of unanswered questions.
No credible threat indicated that tens of thousands would attack the U.S. Capitol.
Acting Capitol Police Chief Yogananda Pittman told lawmakers her department wasn't prepared for the, quote, mob mentality that played out on January 6th. But Pittman said her department does have intelligence on a new threat from some of the same militia groups.
They want to blow up the Capitol and kill as many members as possible with a direct nexus to the State of the Union.
That date isn't set yet, but Pittman confirmed that's why the security fencing around the Capitol complex is still up. Lawmakers who lived through the attack nearly 2 months ago still demanded answers to other security failures.
There was no coordination, and you could see the fear in their eyes.
During the attack, Washington Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler said the officers protecting them had no radio communication with leadership.
And they saved our lives, and I'm frustrated that I'm not hearing this is how we're fixing that.
House members also investigated how domestic terrorism happens in the first place.
A problem that could get worse over time, as January 6th demonstrated to so many groups.
Connecticut Democrat Jim Himes and Arkansas Republican French Hill are working to cut off funding from extremist groups.
To ensure that violence and hatred that fuel the attacks do not happen again.
Witnesses told them the government resources are available, but need to be deployed against the right people. In Washington, I'm Jesse Tenor.
Back in the natural state, a much-debated Stand Your Ground bill is heading to the governor's desk after it passed out of the House last week. It passed with a 72 to 23 vote, with 4 members not voting, 1 voting present. The bill removes the duty to retreat before using deadly force. The governor has not said whether he will sign the bill or not. A bill aimed at tightening the state's voter ID law passed the Senate on a 25-9 vote and is on its way to the governor's desk. Also, if signed, people will no longer be able to vote without identification, even if they sign a statement affirming their identity. The House approved this bill earlier in the month. Stores are jam-packed around back-to-school time, and especially on tax-free weekend. That weekend, sales tax is exempt on a majority of back-to-school items such as clothing and school supplies. Electronics have not been part of that exemption, but a bill presented last week in the Senate Tax and Revenue Committee looks to add things such as computers, tablets, and electronic accessories to that list of exempt items.
The reality is that the tablet or iPhone is just as critical to education today as the pen and paper was for us when we went to school.
Now, the Tax and Revenue Committee is waiting on bills that have fiscal impacts. This one has a close to $2 million one and has tabled this bill until later in the session, and we will surely keep you updated on that one. Arkansas State Treasurer Dennis Milligan banking on a run for state auditor in the next election cycle. Last week, he announced he's begun his 2022 campaign. In a release from Milligan, a few of his highlights in his office include earning the state coffers more than $400 million in interest from its investment portfolio, and was recently elected to serve as the national chair of the State Financial Officers Foundation for 2020-2021.
and the ability, again, to help improve technology efficiency as it comes along and is afforded to us. My track record as treasurer proves to Arkansans that actions speak louder than words, and so I think that we would have a great future as the next auditor of state.
And Milligan is running to succeed current auditor Andrea Lee, who is term limited. And we are back to wrap it up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
This is my house. My parents helped build it. Now we don't get wet when it rains. I don't get too hot or too cold inside. And I don't have to worry when the winds blow. This is my house. This is my house. This is my house. This is my house. My house. My house. I can play with my sister. I can play with my brother. I can play with my mother, my father, my family. My family. My family. This is my house. This is my house. I can study. I can be safe with my family. This is my house. This is my house. This is my house. This is my house. My house. My house.
This is my house.
Visit Habitat.org to find out how you can help more families like mine have a safe, decent place to call home.
We're being inundated with information like never before, good and bad. What should we care about? Well, you should care about how you're getting it, how you're taking it in. Keep in mind, if it's not a conversation, then it's a lecture. And that means you're being told what to think. That's not who we are in this country. We think for ourselves and have to take it upon ourselves to listen to that science and this science, those politicians and these politicians. And when they get it, that that's what we're doing, maybe they'll take a moment and listen to the conversations we're having.
Bob Clausen, weeknights on KARK4 News.
Have you ever wanted a brand new camper? Hi, I'm Misty Gibson for John Gibson Auto Sales, and we are an official Gulfstream camper dealer. Whether you have good credit, bad credit, or no credit, we will finance your brand new Gulfstream camper. We also have a large selection of used campers, cars, trucks, SUVs, motorcycles, ATVs, performance trailers, and boats. Check us out online at johngibsonautosales.com, and we will have your purchase ready when you get here.
Looking for your one-stop shop for all your boating essentials? Come to H2O Sports and Marine. From top brands and knowledgeable sales staff to quality parts and expert service, we're here to help you find exactly what you need. And now with locations in North Little Rock and Greers Ferry Lake, H2O Sports and Marine is here to get you out on the water in a boat you'll love with service you can trust.
Watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that will do it for this week's show. No papers, so no more show. Don't forget, you can get the Capitol View on the go. Boom, Capitol View podcast. Make sure you get that wherever you consume your podcasts. And we're back at it again next week with an all-new Capitol View. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.